So one of the most popular questions we get asked as tutors is how to transition from year 9 to year 10 GCSE. So today's video is a rundown that accompanies our free downloadable PDF, click the link below, which is a more comprehensive step-by-step guide to prepare for your Spanish, French, and also applies to other languages, the GCSE and IGCSE level. I'm going to cover, number 1, what to expect as you transition to GCSE, 2, how to organise your online and offline folders, 3, understanding your exam syllabus, 4, how to revise GCSE vocab, 5, how to revise synonyms, 6, how to expand your sentences, 7, how to improve your writing skills, and finally 8, how to improve your listening skills. So number 1, what can you expect as you transition to GCSE level? Well, the first thing is you've got to step up because you're building upon what you've already learned in the previous academic year and taking your knowledge of vocab, grammar, and verbs to the next level. So, expect to study some of the same topics you've already studied before, but they'll be taught in a more complex way with a higher level of detail. You've got to be able to study independently. You're going to be responsible for organising your own notes and folders, your calendar, revision timetable, submitting homework and assessments on time. So leverage apps, technology, and don't forget automatic reminders. You've also got to develop your own opinions. So learning how to express your pros and cons, advantages, disadvantages, problems, solutions on things such as social issues, technology, environment, careers, and health. Make sure you've got your routine sorted. Have a solid structure and timetable in place so you know what you're doing and when. We say it takes around 30 days to build up a habit. So start now as you mean to continue. So it's not such a shock when you're approaching Easter and mocks. Your learning style, every student's style is a little bit different when it comes to absorbing information and learning. So are you visual or do you prefer audio more? Do you prefer speaking out loud and having more interaction? So explore your style, get to know it, and you'll be better able to adapt your learning methods. So time management is important as well. For example, do you prefer studying in the daytime or at night? Do you need regular breaks, or do you learn more intensively if you just sort of power on through? Whatever you prefer, make sure you have a handle on how best to manage your studies, homework, revision, exercise, downtime and stuff. It's better to adjust straight away. Also refine your organizational style. So how are you going to organize your online, offline folders? Will you disseminate vocab into record cards, flashcards, or will you use apps? What about your folders for homework, booklets, etc.? So keep everything in a really tidy way. Collaboration is a big thing as well. So maybe join certain friends in WhatsApp groups or share your Quizlet notes with classmates. It sort of helps to take the load off and exchange ideas with your classmates. So number 2, how do you organize your folders? Keep the order the same for offline and online folders. So this is the way that I expect my students to lay out. I think it just helps to have everything, really neat and tidy. The third thing you've got to understand is your exam syllabus. So technically I say to students, use the summertime to assess the topics, grammar and tenses that are included in your syllabus and in which order you will study them. So browse past exam papers, so you know the level that you're aiming for and the types of questions you'll be answering. So these are things such as gap fill, multiple choice, match up list A with list B, synonyms, true or false, and so on. Go behind the scenes by studying the examiner mark schemes to get an idea of how they're marking each paper. So, this gives you a head start when it comes to approaching the GCSE year. You've got a clear direction and refresh your memory on what you covered last year. If you're leaving things a little bit to the last minute, you're more likely to feel anxious. So try not to let it get that far. So refresh your year 9 topics, look through your year 9 textbook, booklets, folders, handouts, and also your marked work so that you've brushed up on what you've already covered. So this gives you a great grounding for building upon the first year of GCSE. And you'll be revisiting these topics more in depth when term starts. The second thing that I tell my students is get familiar with your GCSE textbook. Ask your teacher for the book that you're going to be using if you haven't already got it. It's okay if your teacher isn't using one because some don't. Buy your own exam board textbook or Kindle version on Amazon. Read it in advance and always be prepared in terms of what's coming up ahead. So this is going to be something that gets you the highest marks. Also have a look at your exam board website. So head on over to your exam board website, AQA, WJC, edXL. Download the syllabus topics, take a peek at past exam papers and the mark scheme so you know the examiner's logic behind how they're marking each type of question. It's my foolproof method of knowing what types of questions you need to answer in the future, so you're more prepared. The fourth thing I want to touch upon is how to revise your GCSE vocab. So, generally speaking, my students often struggled with learning long lists of vocab. It's a little bit boring. So I have a 6-step method where you can start learning this process now, ready in time for exams and mocks. So I always tell my students that languages are all about layering and repetition. Learning an incremental bite-sized way is less overwhelming in the long run. The fifth thing is, how do we revise synonyms? Because as learners of languages, we're prone to repeating the same default words again and again. So you might keep saying me gusta or pienso que in Spanish or je pense in French. So to get a higher grade, you need to use a variety of words. And I have a technique that I call my synonym circles technique. So this is an example of what a Spanish GCSE synonym circle looks like. I've taken the example me gusta, which my students use a lot. So you can have a little bit of a look and see the variations. So think of this like the sun with the rays, or like a bike wheel with its spokes. You don't need a huge amount, but if you learn, say 5 or 6, just to be on the safe side, then this will help you when it comes to stop repeating the same words again and again. So the 6th point that I want to make is about how you expand your sentences. You need to be able to do it so that the examiner can see the different constructions you're capable of using, and how well you use them. And it also means you don't stop and start your sentences, because that doesn't sound good. So you can expand your sentences in various different ways, but I instruct my students to use my acronym TOAT, T-O-A-T. T stands for time expressions, because these are a great way to start your sentences and set the scene. O is for opinion, so express your opinion or that of others, like the country, age group, and so on. A is for adjectives, so this allows you to be more descriptive. It's a great way of expanding your sentences. And the last thing you need to be looking at is tenses, so using a variety of tenses, including the dreaded subjunctive. So the 7th thing that I want to cover is how to improve your writing skills. Now, it's easy to put writing skills towards the end, especially in the summer. So I recommend you practice over your downtime, if you've got any downtime, obviously. Look through past exam papers, class booklets, and textbooks. And again, refer to the examiner's mark scheme so that you can check the sample answers. So these are the ideal answers. Number 1, know how to check your work. So gender and plurality agreement, so masculine and feminine, singular and plural. My students forget this quite often. It's really normal. What about the word order? Is that correct? So adjectives usually go after nouns. Check your subject and your verb agreement. So does the person match up with the doing word? And then finally, also go through your spelling and accents, constantly checking upon this. Don't let the little marks fritter away. The second thing, use a variety of tenses. So verb endings tell us 3 things: who, what, and when. Then the number 1 thing my students need help with, because, obviously every sentence has a verb. So you're mixing between the present, the past, and the future tenses. Do you know the difference between the different perfect tenses, a present perfect and pluperfect tense? And obviously, have you included the subjunctive tense? So you learn your verb endings and tense formulas off by heart. It means that you can move sort of fluidly between one to the other without difficulty. And the third thing to check here is, are you repeating your words? So if you want to get the higher grades, the 8s and the 9s, you need to use a variety of words or synonyms. So my synonym circles technique, which I just explained, is a great way of sort of visualizing and practicing verbs and phrases and vocab, so you don't use your typical default expressions. And number 4, keep some sentence starters to hand. So what I mean by that is useful stock sentences for you to memorize. They're adaptable to all topics, and they're handy for your written questions and your speaking questions. So in Spanish and in French, I put some examples up here as well so you can see. It means basically that however you're starting your sentence, as long as you've revised how to do that initially, it means the rest of the sentence is more likely to flow, and you can change what you put in the middle and the end parts of the sentence. The 8th thing that I'd like to cover is how to improve your listening skills. I've got a couple of tried and tested tips that have worked with my students over the years. So the first thing is practice routinely at home. Get into a routine. Listening can sometimes be overlooked in class, depends on your teacher. So listen to past papers in your own time. Slow down the speed on your device to help you get used to the pace just at the beginning. You don't want to do it all the time. And then read the transcript when you check the answers at the end. It will really help you to figure out where you're going wrong. Identify where you're making mistakes and pull up exercises to help in that particular area. And then learn to reduce background or white noise by extracting the keywords and sort of contextual phrases. So with your year 9 revision, listen to all of those exercises again and study where you lost valuable marks. Is this a pattern? How can you avoid making these same mistakes again? Obviously, read your teacher's comments. What are they suggesting? It's really easy to slip past and not take any notice, but they're there for a reason, because it's likely you're making the same mistakes again and again. And again, like I said, download the transcript, listen to the audio at the same time. Does it help to fill in any gaps? And then redo the exercises and mark yourself, and you can check if you're improving. So when it comes to listening for your year 10 papers, head on over to your exam board website, download your past GCSE papers. So you're not going to know all of the content just yet, obviously, but listen and attempt to practice some of the questions in the earlier part of the listening papers. That will be classified technically as the foundation level. You want to follow up with your vocab, grammar, or verb tense exercises. You need to do this because you'll be more confident in other areas as well. So lastly, don't forget to follow up with this bit. Always have a plan of action when it comes to your strategies so that you're breaking up your default patterns, you're making an actual commitment to improve. Make notes as you're going along because this is refreshing your memory, and add vocab, anything, verbs, grammar, anything that you don't know into your app or list as you go along. Any questions, obviously reach out to your teacher or tutor if there's more complex problems and you're getting quite stuck. I'm going to leave you with this. It's tools and tech. So I have a technique that I call swipe and learn. So this is something that you can do. You don't need to be online. You just do it for 10 minutes a day. You're just bite-sized learning. And it means that you're absorbing the information really quickly. And it doesn't get too boring as well. So I'm going to leave you with this. Any questions, please add them to the comments underneath. You can send me an email as well, and you can head on over to our website to download the free PDF.